Ever had a regeneration that was so powerful the universe turned to colour, then get stranded on Earth for 3 to 4 years? No, me neither. Bet involved loads of reversing the polarity. The Jon Pertwee years were something else, weren't they? I love them. It was a daring new vision for the show, with few serials I would say are truly shite. And it's because of that I found it difficult to choose just one from the early 70s. Do I go with the timeless and beautifully filmed Spirit from Space, the grim Inferno, the wonderful Time Warrior, or a fan favourite, The Demons perhaps? Eventually I decided. The Mind of Evil by Don Houghton. 6 episodes of Cold War tension, prison riots, and a parasitic machine that feeds on the negative impulses of the human brain, utilised by the Doctor's nemesis, the Master. The main cast of the story are as strong as usual. Pertwee's Doctor gets some great comedy moments and lets slip he's several thousand years old. Katie Manning continuing to be a joy on screen as Jo Grant, one of the definitive Doctor Who girls. You have the reliable Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier, John Levine as Benton, Richard Franklin as Mike Yates. It really stands as one of the best main groups in history. Then there's the original and the best, Roger Delgado as the Master. Frenemy of the Doctor and reoccurring antagonist of Pertwee's second season. He would have been 100 in 2018. I'd been thinking about this for a while and thought I should review something to commemorate his centenary. And here it is, The Mind of Evil, his second ever appearance as the Master, which in universe happened over a year ago. And in that time, he's built up quite the reputation as Emil Keller. He drives around in a limo and smokes a cigar. He's such a suave villain, the perfect foil to an aristocratic Doctor. As for The Mind of Evil itself, I think it's a decent 6 episodes, but it has its flaws. For one, it's very repetitive. The first 4 cliffhangers involve the Keller machine. I know it's called The Mind of Evil, but one cliffhanger involving it is plenty enough. You also see the Doctor and Jo go to and from their prison cell far too often and escape and re-escape, and that gets old. Also, it loses a lot of its credibility when you have it wobble teleport. Maybe having it move practically would have been better. The way it is on camera, it's pretty cat. That's Dublinese for poor or low quality. One moment I'd like to bring up comes at the end of episode 1. There's a great bit of continuity where the Doctor's greatest fear is fire, after he was traumatised by the apocalypse on the fascist Earth in Inferno, also by Don Houghton. But what doesn't work at all is the inclusion of the monsters. I don't know if it was Barry Letts, Houghton or director Tim Coombs' idea, but they didn't do their homework. I'll accept the Daleks being added to the Doctor's spheres because that makes total sense in the programme. But a War Machine and a Zarbi and a Silurian and the Ice Lord from the Seeds of Death and Gaquillian? They keep him awake at night? And that's not exclusive to The Mind of Evil. I notice Doctor Who does this quite a lot. The Quarks in the War Games, the Villains montage in Logopolis, and the Doctor's Fear in Room 11 being the crack in time. God, that last one was so unsatisfying. Someone needs to make sure the clips and stills make sense. Then as the Keller machine grows stronger, it turns its power against its owner, and we find out the Master's greatest fear. The machine shows him an all-powerful Doctor towering over him, mocking him with a booming and incredibly unsettling laugh. Delgado plays the fear incredibly well in this scene, and credit to Pertwee also for creating such a maniacal laugh. Actually, now that I've mentioned the image of the omnipotent Doctor, it doesn't seem as absurd as when Davies did it. I mean, it is still, but you could see maybe where he was going with it, no? I'm not defending that, but maybe certain fans will pick up on that aspect of it in the future. So that's the better scene of the machine wreaking havoc after the only time the wobble filter works with the demise of Kettering, and it's nowhere near as embarrassing as Puff the Magic Dragon, or as unconventional a decision as putting a grainy filter on it in the later half of the episodes. The last thing I'm going to say that works against The Mind of Evil is a line delivered by the Doctor to the Chinese delegate Fu Peng. The Doctor notes he hasn't had much time to use Hokkien, and name drops Chairman Mao as a person he spoke to in the language. Fu Peng questions why he informally refers to their leader by his personal name, and the Doctor says he himself gave me leave to use it. If you're not familiar with the real life figure, then I'd suggest you read history more. To say the least, history does not look back on him fondly, so it's odd for the Doctor to have interacted with him, and the encounter ending in the Doctor being given permission to use his name. It wouldn't have been out of place at the time, it wouldn't have been incongruous at the time, but it hasn't aged well in the 47 years since its broadcast. Tell you what though, if someone actually decides to write that story, I'd be interested to read it. You'll recognise Michael Sheard as the prison Doctor. This is his second ever appearance in Doctor Who, and it won't be his last. Sheard brings his typical greatness as a supporting player. Then there's Neil McCarthy as George Patrick Barnum, a violent inmate at Stangmore Prison who is rendered a simpleton by the Keller process. Or am I not allowed to say that? He has an iconic scream of terror in episode 1, which I utilised in a book cover inspired piece for this review. He gets killed off in episode 6 when the Master runs him over. It's a pity really, it's a very undignified end. McCarthy will later star in The Power of Kroll, which makes me a bit sad. You also have the secondary villain Mailer in The Mind of Evil. Not a complex character by any means, but utilised wisely next to the Master, and is it just me, or does he have a passing resemblance to Oliver Reed? The Mind of Evil also marks Fernanda Marlowe's appearance as Corporal Bell. She'll return on the Claws of Axos, where she writes unexpected weather into the script. Then there's Chin Lee, played by Pik Sen Lim, who was also married to Don Houghton, and translated dialogue into Hokkien. She's an uncertain presence in the first 3 episodes under the control of the Master. Pik Sen Lim still acts to this day, appearing as the killer cleaner in Johnny English Reborn. There's also the Governor Kettering, whom the Doctor takes a dislike to, and the soldier that's never seen again after this serial. Those are the ones I can remember without looking at a Wikipedia page. What stands out to you when watching this is how strong Dudley Simpson's music is, and also the sound design. His theme for the Master is a brilliant bit of menace that fits Delgado's image like a Nehru jacket, and his Keller Machine theme also is fantastically memorable with the pulsating lights and hum. Part of my fan brain wonders whether the mind parasite is from Gallifrey or in its vicinity. If the Doctor and the Master could survive it, albeit by the skin of their teeth, maybe it has its roots in Time Lord legends. But probably not, as there's nothing to suggest that in the script or on screen. Oh well. Fan can dream. Maybe that'd be interesting. In the end, The Mind of Evil is a mixed bag with good and bad, but mostly good. It's aged better, that's definite, because they actually bothered to get Asian actors on screen rather than date it horribly by using white actors in yellowface. Cast are all brilliant, especially the much missed Roger Delgado. Story, whilst not perfect, has its strengths and contributes to the Doctor Who mythos. We didn't need to know the Time Lords can't take aspirin, but it's there, and it's good bit of information. And thanks to the work of the very talented Who-tuber Stuart Humphries, aka Babel Colour, and the Doctor Who restoration team, we no longer have to see it in black and white. As I was, it's a good example of 70s Who, and I love that it ends with the Master free to cause death and chaos wherever he likes. Pertwee gurns, the brig goes cockney, and the Master has a poor Peter Sellers mask. Little bits of humour, little bits of levity. For this Whovian, it helps to define the third face of Doctor Who. 7.5 out of 10.